Everyone, welcome to the new video. So today is video 4 of Kubernetes playlist series, and this video is the last video of level 1. So as you remember, when I was discussing the plan, there were level 5 and we are at the end of the video of level 1. So let's start this last video of level 1 and fourth video of our Kubernetes playlist series. So let's go. So in this video we will see about kubectl and what is kubectl, what is context, what is namespace, and some essential kubectl commands. So if Kubernetes is the brain, then kubectl is a way we can communicate with the brain. Okay, so if we talk about what is kubectl, kubectl is the official CLI tool used to interact with the Kubernetes cluster. So if we talk about like it interacts with the Kubernetes cluster, it means it communicates with the Kubernetes API server. Okay, that is the main component of a control plane. So suppose when we run a kubectl command, then it actually sends a request to the Kubernetes API server, and accordingly it performs the action inside the cluster, that where the action has to be performed, it performs the action. So the flow looks like when user will run a kubectl command, a request will go to an API server, and simultaneously the request will be executed on the cluster. Now when we say kubectl as CLI, so it should be installed locally on your machine. If kubectl is not installed, then it won't be possible to run the kubectl commands. And to run the kubectl command, it uses a kubeconfig. Okay, so this is a file that is being used because it is a configuration file, and the default location is this .kube/config. So what this file stores, like this file will store the cluster details, that at the time when we are logging into any cluster and we are performing the kubectl command, then this file will store that cluster details, user credential, and context information. So when you say kubectl doesn't magically know like where your cluster is and with which credential it should work, or what user credential it should pick, or on what namespace it should do, or on which cluster, when we have multiple clusters, then which cluster we should perform, everything it picks from kubeconfig file. Then the context and the namespace. What is context? Context defines that which cluster we are working on, which user we are trying to connect with the cluster, and in which namespace. So suppose if you are working with multiple clusters, like there are dev, there are staging, there are production, then how context will allow you to switch between them easily. Like if you want to perform action on dev cluster, if you want to perform action on staging cluster, you need to switch the context and then you work. Okay, so this is the command. When we say kubectl config get context, or kubectl, it means it will give the list that what all the contexts are available, and kubectl config use context and the context name. This will show that this will set that which cluster or which namespace it should use, or basically which cluster. So before doing anything, before running anything, this is the safest command that you should run. And I can try running this now. Mine is minikube. Let's see, will it work? So it has given kubectl, this is a current context, and this is a minikube. There are two clusters, and currently minikube is a set context. If I want to switch between to green, I need to use another command, which is kubectl config use context green. So this prevents you from accidentally deploying to production when you meant to deploy to dev. Okay, what is namespace? A namespace is a logical partition inside a cluster. So inside cluster also we need a logical partition. Think of namespaces like folders inside a cluster, and they help organize and isolate resources. So these are the default, like there are default, there are kube system, dev, prod. So we create many namespaces inside the cluster, and inside that namespace it has its own resources. So we how to get the namespace, we need to do kubectl get namespaces command or kubectl get pods. So this is basically in specific namespace. If we want to get what are the pods running, then we use this. And if you don't specify any namespace, then kubectl will pick default, and whatever according to your access it will perform the action. So let me do kubectl get ns or namespaces, it is same. So ns is aliases, or these are the namespaces, kube system, kube public, and these default, and these are the ones which I have created. And if you do ns also, you'll see it is the same result. So this is basically namespaces or ns. Okay, ns. Then if we do kubectl get pods -n, and if I do cube, if I want to check the these pods inside the kube system, so these are the pods. Okay, now we'll understand about kubectl get pod command, like what what does this command help us with. So it lists all the pods in the current namespace. So as I have shown it already, that it has already listed the pods in the kube system namespace. It has given the pod name, it has given the ready state. So inside the pods there are containers. Okay, inside the pods we have containers. So this means that in the pod there is only one container, and that container is up. 1/1 means up. If there are two containers, so it should be 2/2, means both the containers are running. And if it is 1/2, means one of the containers is not running inside the pod. Status is running, accordingly it can change, and this is when it got restarted, and this is the age. So this is the restart time, and this is the age, like when it was deployed, when this pod was made up and running. Okay, so this shows pod name, ready state, status, restart, and age, that I've already explained. Okay, then comes if I do kubectl get pods -o. So if I just use this command and just add wide, so it will give IP address also, it will give the node also on which it is running, it will give nominated node, it will get readiness. So you can see more details. Okay, so this shows all the worker and control planes in the cluster. Output includes node name, status, roles, age, Kubernetes version. Okay, then ready means the node is healthy on which the pod is running. Now if we do kubectl describe pod, this gives detailed information about a specific pod, like which image is being used to run that pod, what is the container name, what are the labels being used, what are the environment variables said, what are the events, if there are errors. So events are very important. Events are like if logs are not captured, events, we see events. Okay, so if I kubectl, if I have to do describe pod, and if I pick this, okay, this pod, first one, so you see there are events. It will say what all events happen to make this pod up and running, what are the volumes used, what are the conditions, what are the mounts, what are the environment variables, what are liveness, readiness probe, image ID, container ID, and IP address, namespace, storage account, service account, everything. So if you want to see detailed view of the pod, you should use describe pod. So if the pod is failing, always use describe to check events at the bottom. That's where most errors are visible. Example issues like image pullback off, crash loop back off, failed scheduling. Then comes the logging part, kubectl logs. So when we do kubectl logs and the pod name, this shows the application logs inside the container. And if there are multiple containers, say, suppose there are one container, so directly if we do kubectl log and the pod name, that's main container logs will be visible. But if there are two containers, we have to specify that specific container name by using -c. Okay, so kubectl logs, and then there are more variations to it. And then there are more variations to the command, like -f means follow. Like if we do tail -f means whatever is the last lines, and all the following lines should get printed. It's like that. So if I do if I have to do kubectl log, so if I run a previous command, okay, one second, okay, okay, kubectl log, and I have to mention the namespace name, else it will pick the default namespace, and this pod is not present in default namespace, so it will not be able to find it out. So if I do, okay, sorry, it should be logs. So if I do logs, then it will print the logs of inside the container. But if I do -f, so okay, again I have tail -f, okay, sorry. So whatever -f means whatever more logs will get printed, new logs, it will show them again. And if we have to comment out, we have to do Control-C. So that is how this kubectl logs command helps. And if I have two containers, then I have to specify container name by using -c. So practical debug workflow, this is like, you can add this powerful real world workflow, because whenever the pod is not working, you need to follow this order, like kubectl get pods, kubectl describe pod, pod name, and kubectl logs, and one more command like kubectl if the logs are not present, then kubectl get events -n and the namespace name. Okay, so these I would say either or, I would put or. So this 3-step process solves 80% of beginner Kubernetes issue. So yeah, that's all for today's video. That's all for today's video. I hope it's helpful. Please let me know your views in the comment section. Till then, take care. Bye.